All right, now to the Middle East. The United States and Iran trading fire overnight, complicating the ongoing peace talks.
You think? Iran escalating the situation, carrying out strikes at several of America's Gulf allies, including Kuwait.
Our chief foreign correspondent, Trey Yinks, joins us live from Tel Aviv with the latest. Hey, Trey.
Yeah, hey guys, good morning. Overnight, Iran attacked both Kuwait and Bahrain with drones and missiles. We know several people were injured and significant damage was caused to Kuwait's international airport. CENTCOM released a statement saying that an additional wave of Iranian drones attempting to attack U.S. forces in Kuwait failed to impact intended targets tonight. U.S. Central Command Air Defenses successfully downed multiple drones and ensured no American personnel or assets were harmed. The Iranian attacks were in response to U.S. strikes that targeted Qeshm Island in the Persian Gulf, according to the IRGC. CENTCOM confirms striking an Iranian military ground control station on the island and described the targeting as defensive in nature. Before that, U.S. forces also disabled an unladen oil tanker that was attempting to sail toward an Iranian port in the Persian Gulf by firing a Hellfire missile into the ship's engine room. The vessel had received multiple warnings over a 24-hour period. The exchange of fire comes as U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio was on Capitol Hill Tuesday, indicating that talks with Iran continue toward a deal and that Iran's supreme leader, Mojtaba Khamenei, is involved.
They have agreed to negotiate aspects of their nuclear program that just a month ago, just a year ago, they were refusing to even mention, much less enter into discussions about. That is not a guarantee that ultimately it will lead to a deal. I think there are indications out there that he is increasingly engaging at some level, although all of it.
Remember, we took out his dad, his wife, his kid, and brutally injured him. And he has said nothing but rhetoric about not only wanting us out, but wanting us out of the entire region. At the same time, the president who we were dealing with seems on the cusp of resigning, and the blockade seems to be working as the real is worth about, you need 1 million real for every dollar. And they have electricity, it looks like 2 hours a day. Do you think in some respects, since our blockade seems effective, that time is on our side?
Yes. President Trump has much more time than the Iranians. The reality is the Iranians are losing hundreds of millions of dollars each day as a result of the U.S. naval blockade of Iranian ports. We have seen the numbers, 90% decrease in Iranian exports, crude oil extraction at just 50%. The U.S. naval blockade is crippling the Iranian economy. And that is the reason that President Trump is reportedly being quite patient and pushing back even on what some allies in the region would like to see. Because he understands that he holds the cards here and that the Iranians can continue this rhetoric, they continue these limited attacks in the Gulf. But the reality is U.S. forces remain across the region, more than 50,000 U.S. service members, fighter jets, refuelers, cargo planes, you name it, here in the region in preparation if President Trump decides to order strikes against the Iranian regime. And you saw last night how quickly CENTCOM can act when they see a threat. In real time, they identified, using intelligence, an active threat from the Iranian regime on Qeshm Island, and they struck that threat. Now, the Iranians responded with ballistic missile fire and drone attacks against Gulf countries that have been widely condemned by the Qataris, the Emiratis, and others, because
when it comes to the nuclear program, Marco Rubio said that Iran has agreed to negotiate previously off-limit aspects of the nuclear program. What is he talking about? The off-limits that they're agreeing to negotiate about?
It's a great question because we understand, according to reports, this memorandum of understanding was going to establish Iran never having a nuclear weapon, but the details would be later negotiated in the weeks ahead. And ultimately, if this memorandum of understanding is reached, those details are still going to have to be worked out. Now, reports indicate late last week in the Situation Room at the White House, President Trump called on his top negotiators to go back to the table and get more concessions from the Iranians to get details on how they can assure they'll never have a nuclear weapon and also what they're going to do with that highly enriched uranium. Guys?
Thanks so much, Trey. So the question is, when are we going to see, you're right, with the setup of what's happening with the financial markets, and that's definitely hurting the people of Iran, the day-to-day folks.
And it hurts us because gas is high.
Of course. The question is, when will we see a crack when it comes to IRGC? When those guys aren't being paid, then that really matters. If it's just the civilians and the day-to-day businesses that are being hurt, they're not going to go back in the street. They have no weapons to fight against the government right now. So, and until we see the IRGC internally starting to fracture, I'm not sure it really matters.
So this is the toughest question the president has to answer. If he unfreezes funds, like they want reparations.
Right.
Do you believe that? Okay.
Not getting that.
Yeah. Right. But if you unfreeze $6 billion, like Joe Biden unfroze $6 billion in people's lives better.
Yeah,
It's everybody paid gets to terror. And they go, well, it's their money. Their money, it gets in surviving. Now, we leave the blockade in place. They'll have to come to the table because Scott Bessent's done a brilliant job. He's finding all their accounts.
That's right.
There are other Gulf state accounts. They're in our accounts. They're in Western accounts. You know, this guy's supreme leader has an apartment in London. So this, you know, the guy that's defiled now, afraid to leave a cave because he's a coward.
Remember, they had family members that were living in California.
So that's the president's big thing. He says, unfreeze the funds, open up the strait. You go, that money sustains them.
Right. You know, the difference is, too, in America, we can vote in our leaders. And if prices are high, people are worried. Republicans are worried. If the prices are high come midterms, what does that mean? But in their country, you bring up a good point. The IRGC, if they're still being funded, they don't care about the civilians. They killed 30, 40,000 of them in January for protesting. Yeah,
it's the military arm. I mean, they'll argue that you can vote for their parliament, but the parliament, they really don't have any power.
Right.
So I would love for Marco Rubio to lead these negotiations. I think that Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff, although well-meaning, have too much on their plate. Doing Gaza, doing Ukraine, doing Iraq. I mean, let's just get Marco Rubio, who pulled off what happened in Venezuela, is about to pull off what's happening in Cuba. Put him in there. He's got more experience in foreign policy. He understands the...
Talking about a specific person or topic related to Taja and Fox News. Based on available information, there is no prominent figure named Taja associated with Fox News. It is possible you might be thinking of one of the following. Taraji P. Henson, an actress who starred in the popular Fox television series Empire. Taja Fox, an independent publisher and editor-in-chief of Bermuda Bliss magazine who has worked in media but is not affiliated with Fox News. If you are looking for specific news coverage or a particular video clip, could you clarify what you would like to know? To learn more about current headlines and video segments from the network, you can visit their official YouTube channel. This channel provides regular updates on political, business, and world news as covered by the network.